Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? In this video we're going to add the economy to the game, or rather most of it anyways. And having a economy in a tower defense game is quite important, because you need money to buy towers and you get some money from killing the enemies, and you might want to sell a tower so you get money back, etc, etc. So that is what we're gonna add today. So start up your Eclipse and get ready. But before we start, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and also subscribe. But we are getting close to that finish line. And now, let's get started. And like we do usually, let's take a look at the current state and see what we got. So last episode we got the waves going, including more than just one wave. But in this episode let's add some economy to the game, which is one big part of the tower defense genre. And on this subject of economy, we're gonna add a few things. First, we're gonna need a start amount. We will also add so whenever we kill an enemy, we get money. And that's the first way of getting money. And the second one will be that there is a slow ticker that generates gold constantly for the player, but in a very, very small amount. For example, maybe 1 gold every 5 seconds or something like that. So that's the second part that we will add. The idea here isn't too complicated. We just need to add a few constant values to determine how much gold or cash each enemy should reward the player, and also how much it should be every tick. So let's get that going, but before we start there's a little bug that we need to fix. But when we fix the bug, we can start the actual episode. So let's get that going first. But before we start, let's fix that bug with the colors. And I think it's just to move this color black to right before our font in our draw wave info. And I think that's gonna fix it. And it did. Perfect. I think the best place to keep all the values for our money system is in our action bar, even though it makes more sense to have it in the playing. But when we want to draw it, it's going to be in our action bar. So might as well just keep it here. So let's begin by adding a first variable, private int gold. Let's just call our money system in this game gold, which is a very common name for currency. So yeah, let's use gold. And whenever we start the game, we also want some start amount, so we don't start out empty-handed. So let's just say 100. So 100 gold to start with. Let's just add a draw function for our gold right away. So after wave info, draw gold amount G. And let's create that method. And we want to just g.drawString. Let's draw our gold value at 100, and for y 700, and for text we want gold plus gold. As simple as that. Let's see how it looks. So it's kind of overlapping the buttons, but let's move it down a little bit and forward a little bit, so it's underneath our towers. So let's use our debugger here to get a good position. And I think this is a good position for the gold to be displayed. I just realized from our last episode, when we added the information about the waves and enemies, we display it right above our tower information right here, which is not ideal. So we want to move this wave information text below it. Let's do that before we go on doing anything else. So we're gonna use the debugger again and just make sure that the position of it is looking better, because right now they are overlapping and that's not good. And we want to change wave, enemies left, and time left. And time left is the first one, so let's see. And I think this is alright. So I have moved them to 750, 770, and 7090. And that's not overlapping at all. So that's good. And in our draw method, here in action bar, we add yet another method for our draw tower cost. And we're gonna call the method draw tower cost, simple as that, and G, and then we create the method. And in this method, first we want to set the background, which will be g.setColor, color dot gray. And then we want the rectangle that fills the entire area, so g dot fill rect. And the position will be 280, 650, and it will be 120 and 50. And I already tested the size of this, so that's why I know it beforehand. And with the background, we also want to set the border, g.set color, color.black, and then g.draw rect. And we're gonna keep the same values, like so. And then of course we want to draw the actual type of tower, which is g.draw string. And we're just gonna start with wizard. And the position for that will be 285 and also 670 for Y. And after we have written the type of tower, we also want to add the cost. So cost, we're just going to add 50 for now, and then we will add the actual cost for each tower. We just want to see how it looks. So not 70, but 95. Let's give this a try and see what we have. Now we got the section here, drawing all the time. Let's make it so that only when we hover above one of these towers. So we need a boolean, and every time we are above a tower, we set the boolean to true. Whenever we are outside it, we set it to false. So let's go to our top here and add a boolean. So below our gold, private, boolean, show tower cost. And in our mouse moved, if we are inside a tower, then we set to true. And up here we say false by default. And before we can test it, we just need to set an if statement for our draw tower cost. So if draw tower cost is true, then we draw it. So let's give it a try and see what we got. Alright, so it's only visible if we are above a tower. And now we want to know the type of tower we are hovering above. So let's change that too. And I think the easiest way to do it is by adding a private int tower cost type. And we copy that one and go down to our draw method. Not draw method, our mouse moved method. And here we say equals tower cost type equals b.get id. So the button ID corresponds with the tower ID or tower type. So in our draw tower cost here, we remove this section and say plus get tower name, tower cost name, so we know what usage this function is. And just like that, we're going to add a plus get tower cost. I think is okay name, but if you want to name it something else, you are free to do so. But for string, and here we want a integer. It thought it was a string, but it's an integer. So tower cost name, I don't think we have the name stored, do we? We should have it. Let's take a look at our constant class in our towers, cannon tower. Yeah, we do have it. So we just need to call this one and get the name. Perfect. So action bar, remove that. Helps.constant.towers.getName tower cost type. So that one should return a string. Yeah. And to get the cost, let's go back to our constant class and add a public static int get tower cost. And it's going to take the same type of variable in. We're going to add a switch, or we might just copy it, but instead of returning string, we return an integer. So for cannon, let's say cannons are 65. An archer should be pretty cheap, so 20, let's say 30. A wizard is a little bit special, but 45. And as before, when it comes to values in the game, we're gonna have to play around with it a lot to see what actually makes sense. So let's copy that function name, or rather we can just do like so. And instead of get name, get tower cost. And I think this is going to work. Fingers crossed. Let's see what we got. So if it's correct, let's just pull up the constant class so we can check. And a cannon should be 65, so we should see cannon and then 65. All right, archer and 30, and wizard and 45. How about that? It's working, and it does not overlap. Now comes the fun part. Now when we have selected a tower and want to place it, when we place it, we should remove the cost of the tower to the current amount. If the current amount is less than the tower's cost, it should not be able to place it. But let's just begin by doing the first part, which is when we place it, we remove some amount of money that corresponds with the cost of the tower. So let's do that. And we need to go to our playing class for this one and scroll down till we get to our mouse clicked. I think it's in our mouse clicked at least. Drag, release, moved, press, clicked. Here we are. And select tower is not null. Is the grass? Yes, if there is a tower already. Or rather, if it's not a tower right there. So let's go to the bottom here and add a method that removes the cost of the tower from the amount of gold we actually have. And let's call this method remove gold. Simple as that, I guess. What we want to pass in here is the tower type. And let's actually do that before we say selected tower is null. So take the selected tower dot get tower type, and now we can add this method. And in here we say action bar dot pay for tower, I guess, tower type. And we make that method in our action bar, this dot gold minus equal helps dot constant dot towers dot get tower cost tower type. So let's place a tower and see if we remove some gold. So archer, we want to place it, now we should have 70. All right, but we shouldn't be able to buy any towers if our gold is negative or we don't have enough. So a few ways we can do it. We can allow the player to select a tower but not place it, or we can just deny the player to select it. So he clicks but nothing happens because the cost is more than we have. And I think checking if we can even select it like so is the easiest way to do it. So let's add some method where we can't select the tower and place it if we do not have enough money. And I actually think that's in our action bar, right? Yes, it is, in our mouse clicked as well. So first we go through our buttons. If we click one of them, then we create a selected tower, and then we send the selected tower to our playing class. But before we even create the selected tower, we add a function that says if is gold enough for tower, and then button.getID, which is the same as the tower type right now. And if it's rather not, then we return. We don't even go down here, we just return. So let's create this method, and in here we're going to change it. Instead of ID, we say tower type, so we know that we're passing in a tower type. Return gold is more or equal to helps dot constants dot towers dot get tower cost tower type. And this one is going to return true if our current gold is more or equal to our tower's cost. So let's give that a try. So we have 100 gold, we should be able to place 3 in total. Let's see what happens if we try to select a tower again, an archer in this case. Nothing happens. And it's working as we want, but if you don't pay attention, you might wonder, why can't I select this? What's going on? So we want some sort of text that shows up that says, not enough gold. Maybe right below here, or... So we want some sort of message. So let's just add a, not an error message, but a little message underneath here that says, not enough gold when we can't buy one. So let's play around with our debug first, and then we add the functionality to that text. So let's do that. So let's go back to where we draw our gold amounts. No, not gold amount, but our tower cost amount. Should we do it in here, or should we do... Yeah, let's do it inside here as well. It only shows up if we are hovering a tower, so we might as well just keep it in here. Show this if player lacks gold for selected tower. So let's add a if is tower cost more than current gold. A long one, but it's going to do what we need it to do. And it says in the name what it does, like so. And since we're asking if the tower costs more than we have in gold, so get tower cost is more than our gold. So this one just returns true if the tower cost is more than we have in gold. If that's the case, then we say something in terms of let's move all that. We just wanted a string. You broke. And let's see what happens. So let's add one. Yeah, we have the text, but we need to move it a little bit down. So 7, that's 25 plus 25, but let's go 30 because of the border. So 725. Let's see how it looks. So one cannon, and now we try. You broke. Yeah, it worked. We can buy an archer, but we can't buy a cannon or a wizard. Now let's just add a red color to it and say can't afford. That might be too long of a text. Let's see the size of it. Because yeah, we need to move that text a little bit to the left. So yeah, that's a good position. Now we just need to set the color to red. So g.setColor, color.red. So let's place a wizard. Can't afford. Yeah. So yeah, this is looking quite pretty, or rather pretty enough for our sake right now. So yeah, good job. But we also want to make some money in this game. We can't just spend the initial amount and that's it. I think we're gonna have 2 ways of generating money. One is the fact that when the enemies die by the towers, they generate some sort of money. The second one is a slow tick that constantly ticking, like one gold every 2 or 3 seconds. But we're gonna start by adding the gold whenever an enemy is killed, and the harder the enemy, the more money we're gonna make. So let's get into that. Let's start by adding some variables in our constant class about the enemies when they get killed. So enemies get speed above here. Public static int get reward. And this one takes in the enemy type, of course. We need a switch, but instead of floats, we return amount of gold. So for an orc, we return, say, 5. For a bat, also 5 maybe. For a knight, let's return 25. And for a wolf, 10. And just like any other variables like this, we need to play around with it to find a good balance. Now, with this in order, we can go to our playing class, I think. It's not in our playing class, actually, it's in our enemy class. In our hurt method we need to look. Because we say health minus the damage. If the health is less than 0 or equal to 0, then alive is false. But in here, we would like to call some manager and say, now give gold back to the player because the enemy got killed. So we will actually add a enemy manager to our constructor. So enemy manager. And we need to import the class and protected enemy manager. And this dot enemy manager equals enemy manager. All right. So in this herd method, if health is less or equal to 0, which we're checking, then we also say enemy manager dot reward player enemy type. So in our enemy manager, we're creating a method. Yeah, we can keep it down here, that's all right. So we want to go from our enemy manager to the action bar and adding the amount of gold that enemy is worth. So playing dot get, we don't have a get action bar in our playing, is that true? No, doesn't seem like we do. Let's not add a getter, let's just add a public void reward player int enemy type. So in our enemy manager, we just reward player enemy type, the same name as we have in here. So in this method, we simply say action bar dot add gold and then helps dot constant dot enemies dot get reward enemy type. Now we have an amount and we have a method, and this dot gold equals plus equals get reward. All right, so I think this is going to work. Let's give it a go and see what happens. And there's an error right away. Let's take a look what that is. Well, of course we're gonna get an error. When we're creating the enemies, we don't give any enemy manager. Completely forgot about that. So for our orc, we need a enemy manager em, let's just call it for short. So we're gonna pass in em, and we're gonna do the same for all the enemies. Save that one, and we should have some errors in our enemy manager. So this, and this. All right, are you happy now? Let's give it a go. Let's take a look if we do get some gold whenever the enemy gets killed. And it looks like we do. So this one is about to die, 25, 30, and so on and so on. So yeah, we do get money from our enemies. Perfect. And the second way the player is gonna generate some gold is the background tick that constantly giving the player a little bit of gold. So to our playing class we go, and in our update method here, update, here we go. After the wave manager we add gold tick. And this one is very simple. We're checking for a tick, if that tick is divisible by, say, 3 seconds, which is 180, then we give the player 1 gold. So every 3 seconds the player gets 1 gold. So gold tick plus plus, and if gold tick is divisible by seconds times 1 second times 3, we say action bar dot add gold 1 gold. So let's add gold tick at the top. Private int gold tick equals 0. We don't need to specify gold tick. So gold tick will increase every update, and if, we need to check whether or not it's equal to 0. So gold tick plus plus, then gold tick modulus, this is gonna be 180, and if that's the case and it's 0, then we give the player 1 gold. Now every 3rd second the player should get a gold. 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so the player is slowly getting some gold, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. And that is some good progress from one video, and I will stop for now, and in the next episode we will continue by adding the option to sell a tower we already placed. So don't forget to subscribe, you don't want to miss the next one. Thank you all for watching, I hope that you learned something in this episode, and until the next one, take care now, and I'd love to see you in that video as well. Cheers!